Welcome to the Better Agent Podcast. If you're a real estate agent that's looking to grow your business, then you're in the right place. Whether you want to go from 5 to 10 transactions a year, or 10 to 50 transactions per year, or more, well, then this show is for you. I'm Josh Lavik, your host for the Better Agent Podcast, and in each episode, we'll bring you the tools, tips, and tricks directly from myself and some of the best leaders within the real estate industry. We have one goal in mind, and that's to boost your production and elevate your real estate game. Let's dive in and start creating a better real estate experience together. Welcome back to the Better Agent Podcast. I'm your host, Josh, with Josh Lavik and Associates, and we are having a great discussion on the show and talking about how to improve your real estate business. So whether you're looking to go from 5 transactions to 10 or 10 to 20 or 20 to 50 or 100 or more, whatever that is for you, we hope that you get some value out of our show today. And I'm here to share some of my experience over the last 20 years in the real estate business, and then also bring on some amazing guests that can share some of their experience as well with our listeners. So today I have a wonderful guest, is Kim DuBois. And she is a very successful agent and hopefully going to be bringing some great value to our listeners today. So without further ado, I'll let Kim give a quick intro and share a little bit more about her background and what led you to where we're at today.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. It's very nice to be asked to do this. I am Kim DuBois. I have been in real estate only since 2020. I know COVID, took a lot of things from a lot of people, and it was an awful time. But for me, it gave me a whole new career. I had been in sales for, 15 years, selling different things, and had a lot of success and loved it. And then I got furloughed. And when that
COVID?
What's that?
What, because of COVID?
Yes, because of COVID. And I was speaking to a girlfriend of mine, and I said, I've just always wanted to sell real estate. And her husband was a broker, and he, family friends, and he's my kids' coaches in hockey and baseball and all of that. And so she went home and told him, and the next day I got a phone call from him and said, Kim, I've been waiting for years for you to say those words. Go get your license, come work for me, and let's do this thing. And so I did. I downloaded the course. I immediately booked booked and paid for my test, gave myself 6 weeks, and just got to getting, and I got it done, and I passed it. And I remember the day that I passed it, I called my broker and I said, I can't believe it. I passed. I'm a realtor. I'm a real estate agent. I can't believe it. I was freaking out. And he's like, yeah, that's great. Get back here, because I have 2 buyers I need you to work with. And I was like, business.
Get to work. Come on.
Right. Exactly. Congrats and all, but you got work to do. Yeah. So, and I just hit the ground running, and I have loved it. In all the jobs I've had, real estate is my favorite. This is the best. Yeah. Just the best.
So that's awesome. You know what I love about just that comments and how you just made a decision, right? You'd been thinking about this for a while. Yeah. Right? You've been it's been sort of percolating. Oh, maybe I could do real estate. Maybe not. But as soon as you made that decision, you just went all in. You're like, all right, I'm doing this, and I'm going, and here we go. There was no hesitation. There wasn't no, I think I'm going to dip my toes in it. I'm going to try it. No, we're passing my test in 6 weeks, and I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to go work with some buyers, and boom, let's go.
You got to risk it for the biscuit. You got to risk it for the biscuit.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I've shared this part of my story before. I think the first 2 years in the business, first 1 to 2 years, were probably the hardest for me, because I was not that way. I mean, I was very hesitant if I even wanted to do real estate. I wasn't even sure. I mean, I've been doing this almost 20 years now. And so, at that point I was in my young 20s. I didn't, do I want to do real estate? I don't know. Maybe, right. I don't, but I remember distinctly having that sort of pivotal mindset shift and moment that was exactly what you just talked about, which was making that 100% commitment decision. Okay, if we're going to do this, let's quit doing it halfway. Let's go all in, and let's burn the boats, and away we go. And as soon as I did that, as soon as I made that mental shift, my business took off immediately. So I love that yours just kind of went off out of the gates, and away we went.
Right. And I do feel fortunate to have cut my teeth in a time when, everybody talks about what a hard COVID market was. Yeah. And while I agree, it was a difficult time to be a buyer. There was a lot of business around, And so I didn't really have the like, oh, year 1 and 2 where you're just scraping for every bit of, any leads you could get. There were ample people trying to buy. And that's why I think where I came into the love of working with buyers is just that kind of the thrill of the hunt, just the looking at properties and finding the right one and then just digging in and getting it, just working hard to write the best offer and get that property.
What was that like? I mean, does a particular instance or transaction stand out to you as like, that it was maybe a more pivotal kind of time because that was a tough time. I mean, I remember during COVID and we weren't even sure if we were going to be essential workers, right? Could we even work? Could we even still do this business? Luckily, it was up and we were, and so we were still able to show and sell properties. But, there was a lot of uncertainty at that time. And then, we all know that the market kind of exploded with the low interest rates. But I mean, what was, I don't know, is there a story that comes to mind that was especially impactful for you?
I think one of them, I had a client and he's such a wonderful person, still is. He's a wonderful person. And I just was rooting for him so much. And we got turned down. We missed out on 15. We wrote 15 offers. And we're doing what everybody else is doing. Cash offer, no contingencies, all the risk on the buyer, all that kind of stuff. And we still were losing out. And one of them that we lost out on, the person that got it offered $100,000 over ask in Cross Plains. And he looked at me and he said, I just can't compete. And we didn't have a small budget. We had a nice size budget. Yeah. And I said to him, you have to stay the course. You have to stay the course because nobody, that works this hard and wants it this bad and is such a, great person as you will lose. I just promise you we're going to do it. And then there was a delayed listing and I don't even actually know that it was delayed. I don't remember. But anyway, I told him about it and I said, we are going to be the first feet over that threshold. We are the first people in that house. And if you like it, we are writing an offer that they cannot refuse. And I called, once it was available, we were on our way to see it. I called that agent and I just told her the story of kind of what my clients has lost out. I know that's not a news story. I know we're not unique, but I just want to let you know kind of where our headspace is. And so if we like this house, we're going to write you a heck of an offer to present to your seller. And, I just want to give you some background on where we're at. And she said, okay, well, you go see it. And then, whatever. And she sounded a little bit like maybe I was missing something. Yeah. So we go look at it. And he loves it. This is perfect. This is better than any of the other houses we've written offers on. This is the one. And I called her and I said, yep, we're going to write an offer. What's important to your seller? And she said, yeah, did you see the note in the broker to broker comments that says I'm the seller? I'm like, no, I didn't. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry. Like I wasn't, she said, I couldn't figure out if you were trying to like butter me up by telling me your sob story about missing these. And I said, no, I just didn't read thoroughly.
So here's a cue, right? Read the broker notes, the agent notes, broker to broker line, right? Those are important. There's usually good insight there. You know, the other thing you said that I think made an impact though is you called the agent, right? You shared your story, right? I mean, how many times I've gotten offers from other agents on my listings and I never even get a phone call, never hear from them. I just get like this offer shows up in my email inbox, which, I totally get it. That's a viable option, right? You certainly could do that. But how much insight do you gain by having that phone call first? How much insight do you really, right? Can you can really stand out a little bit, right? And find out what's truly important to that seller, I think is, that's an important piece that not a lot of agents do. And I think if you can slow down a little bit and not just rely on text and email for your communication, for your negotiation, but making that phone call, reading the notes, like that's important for sure.
I think that asking that agent what's important to your seller is the most important question you're asking in this entire transaction, quite honestly, because because they don't often write like, well, seller would like to move in, 15 days, but they don't often write that in there. But if that is something that's important, or that would be like a benefit to them. They don't need it, but they would like it. That's critical. It's amazing. I did that recently with another buyer couple of mine. They're first time home buyers. And I called the agent and I said, we're going to write an offer. I know you're going to get multiple offers. What's important? And we were talking about it. And I said, well, this is going to be a clean offer. It is going to be cash. I'm going to provide you proof of funds, but I just want to give you a little bit of information why he's so young and has these funds.
Yeah.
And I said, because I'm not going to write a love letter, but I want to, in an effort to reassure you that these funds, this is, he's a young kid. These funds are not fabricated in any way. And the story was, and it happened in our small town, that his dad died tragically and the buyer was the only child. And so he has these funds. Now it's being monitored by family and everything else, but he does have these funds available. He's going to get a mortgage, but this is why these funds are available. And that ended up coming into play because there were three even offers. We were all the same, exactly the same.
Yeah.
And the agent told me it wasn't a love letter, but they did nothing else to go on. So on which offer to choose. So I told them why, and they did ask, why is this kid so young and has so much money sitting there? And so he told them, and they were like, we got to give this kid a chance. Like, he's got to get a break. And I think it's those conversations between agents sometimes that are really important. And I also don't think as an agent, as a buyer's agent or a listing agent, that you have the option to tell those stories unless you have meaningful conversations with your clients first.
Yeah. Right.
Figure out what's motivating them to buy or sell.
Yeah.
And, getting down to what, on a personal level,
Yeah, I think some of that's definitely important. Obviously if, at some point, right, it does boil down to like price, right? Like if one offers like 50,000 better than the others, it doesn't matter how good of a letter or story you might have.
Right.
Because I mean, at the end of the day, price is a major driver. But, if you do have offers that are close and you do, there is some wiggle room there, then, maybe that is something that can tip the hat a little bit, tip the scales, so to speak, right? In terms of, sharing more about what your buyer is like or what your seller situation. And I think unless you have that dialogue, that conversation, or even write letters, I think that's how you uncover that and find out that motivation, because it is more than just a transaction. It's more than that. But definitely very important. Yeah. What's most important to the seller? I think that's a critical question. Every buyer's agent should memorize, internalize, and ask every situation. I agree. I've often had that. I've done that for years myself. And I sometimes say it a different way too, where I'll just say, I just was curious. I wanted to give you a quick call about your property. Wondered if there's anything that I should know about that's about either the property or the seller's situation that's not obvious on the MLS, on our multiple listing system, right? That's kind of the same kind of thing, right? What's important to them, but also what else am I not seeing that isn't totally obvious? So I think those are both good questions to ask, definitely. So I remember, those crazy COVID times, right? Multiple offers. I remember probably the one offer I wrote, there was 26 offers on the property. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And it was interesting because my buyer actually won. They were the winning offer amazingly. I mean, they had already missed out on several others at the time, but they won this bid because, and I think part of it was I immediately recognized, well, this place is way underpriced. Like, it was like 100,000 underpriced. Okay.
Oh my
kind of
gosh.
like what you're talking about, Yeah. And so I think I just was able to communicate that to my buyer and show comps and relevance and everything that just made them feel comfortable with writing a super high offer because that can be kind of a tough situation where definitely. Like, you got to go at least 100,000 over to get this. Sometimes they may not trust that, but if you can show that, and demonstrate your skill and your, knowledge of the market in a meaningful, compelling way, then, they're in a good position. So, but I think, because I've noticed that a couple times where you'll see a property, it'd be like, wow, that seems like a really good price. Yeah, it's way underpriced. Okay. So,
they did that on purpose. They're hoping to generate more.
Don't think you're going to get it for that price.
Get the bidding war. So like write your best offer, really, like figure out what that is, go to work for it. So yeah, interesting. Okay. I don't know. Where do you want to go from here? Kim, share with our listeners, maybe, I don't know, something that you do or that you think has been impactful in your growth in your business over the years. You know, what is it that you've done, you know, 1, 2, 3 things that really come to mind that you think really moved the needle on your business and helped you grow it?
I think initially, and probably up until last year. So for the first, 4 years, I think one thing that really, I wanted to stay relatively small because I wanted to be able to focus and dedicate a lot of energy and attention to the clients that I did have. So I was doing like 14 to 16 transactions a year, and that felt just perfectly fine. It afforded me the lifestyle that I wanted. I still had time to go out on my boat if I wanted. I just wasn't looking to like be top of the leaderboard because I wanted to be able to give really good customer service to all of my clients, buyers or sellers. Totally. And I think by starting out with that mindset, like get after it, commit to it, be successful, but at the end of the day, deliver really good experiences for your clients. And that turned into, because I dedicated a lot of my attention on making sure that was done well, in 2024, over half of my transactions were repeat business, either referrals from my previous clients or my clients that bought during COVID, had outgrown their home and needed to buy something else or something along those lines. So it turned into, having that practice initially now has made me better for it today. And now I feel like, I can keep track of and deliver still really good customer service to more than just, 2 to 3 clients a month. Now I can do more because it feels, now I've got my groove and everything. But I think just really focusing.
And you're just a solo agent, correct? Is that what?
With EXP. Yep.
With EXP. Okay.
I'm not on a team.
You don't have a team or anything big or anything like that. It's just you're there delivering the customer experience and taking people from contract to close. And that's important for people to hear. I think, you got to look at your own bandwidth and know that, if you can't, if you want to sell 50 or 100 homes, like if you got to understand that's going to take a significant more bandwidth potentially, or you're going to have to hire more people or do something in order to make that happen versus saying, okay, I can deliver excellent customer service. I can get great referrals. I can get great reviews, deliver excellent customer service for that, 14 to 16 transactions a year, and yet still make a decent income for yourself and your family and provide, the opportunities and the lifestyle you want. Go out on your boat and have, some of those good experiences. I think that's an important distinction, right? Not everybody has to, have this big team and be on the top of the leaderboard and everything. So
I think too, like being in sales previously, it was that kind of top of the leaderboard and just like, just to be at the top. And then I came into this and I was like, nah, because people are spending a lot of money, and who am I to handle, $500,000 on an average sale, whatever, $500,000 of their money and not give it my loaded attention, just a ton of it. And I knew too, that if I had a TC from the beginning, I would not have learned all the things that you need to know to actually, in those functions. I would not have been able to figure out how to put up a listing or to see a transaction through to close and keep my system for keeping track of all the deadlines. I wouldn't have honed those skills. And I had everybody telling me, get a TC, well worth the money. I'm sure that they are. I have no doubt. But I'm a hands-on learner. I have to do it, screw it up a few times, and then I learn not to do that again.
Well, I remember I've been in your situation before. I remember, when I was kind of in that similar transaction count, maybe ramping up to close a little higher, a little closer to 20 or so, where I really felt the pressure to need a TC, right? Like it was, for sure. Could I do it? Absolutely. But I didn't want to do it at 8 o'clock at night or whatever, So like for me, it was well worth the money to kind of help scale up to that point, because, I was at the time, I didn't have anybody like full time, but I was just paying like a per transaction fee, flat fee for them to help manage some of the transaction paperwork. And that just freed me up a little bit and enough to be able to still deliver that high customer experience that you were talking about. But I think for me, that was catalyst for that growth to get to that next level where, I've been doing probably 25 to 50 transactions a year for several years, the last 5 years. And there is no way I could do that without some type of administrative help or some type of PC or I just can't, you can't do it. So I think that's an important distinction, is if you're in a position where you either need to, I think, make that decision to stay a little bit smaller and just say, this is my bandwidth, this is what I can do. Or if I do want to grow, then, okay, what investments are you willing to make in people and systems and tools or whatever it might be to help you be able to do more? But it's going to take an investment, right? Because
and I think that's probably what 2025 has for me is now like, okay, all of that is good. Now I have the capacity to handle more business, do it more. And then I will either do, like you said, the per transaction fee or a TC that, I find through EXP or something like that. I'll figure something out, because you're right. When you're juggling that many transactions, I can't even imagine trying to manage all those deadlines and answering it all. You can't do it. You can't do it. So that's probably what I'll do in 2025 if it pans out the way in my mind it's going to.
Well, for sure. But I think, I think you also made a critical point too, because when you're brand new, you kind of need to do it. You need to know what the process is to be able to deliver that good customer service, right? You need to know, if you hire a transaction coordinator, what do you expect? If you're brand new, you don't know what to expect. You're like, oh, I don't know, just manage it, I guess, right?
Right. I wouldn't have been able to give them clear direction because I just didn't know what I didn't know. So now that I know it all.
Now that you know, well, you know a little bit more, and you're
just
learning every day, right? Exactly.
I learn something new every day.
That you do. Yeah. Well, so I am curious, because we're both at EXP. What would you be open to sharing, maybe just some tips or things you've experienced being at EXP that you think has contributed maybe to some of your success in your business?
I think initially when I started with EXP, it was hard for me because it's cloud-based. And I did with coworkers, and I tend to connect with people pretty quickly when it's a personal interaction. It's harder to do and this is the way I learn too. It's harder to just watch a video and learn as opposed to being in a class and, or in a boardroom chatting with my colleagues. So initially that was really hard, and it was my own hiccup. It was my own barrier. And once I realized, listen, lady, you need to actually watch those videos and adjust your thinking so that you can accept what they're offering, then it switched. I started going to all the little, get-togethers and, the meetups and things like that. And now I have this little collection of colleagues that we can text and we can chat and I can ask questions, and it's an immediate response. And it's not always like, I need to ask my broker a question and I got to log into the world and all of that. It's more than anything for me, what I lean on are input from my colleagues. Let me just tell you this scenario and you guys tell me your thoughts. And once I opened myself up to, quit worrying about the fact that it's cloud-based and, and just embrace it, then it was great. It's great. And I think EXP, I think sometimes there's so many different platforms. There's, that I don't know where I'm going in their virtual world kind of thing sometimes. But then I just go and ask the broker, where do I find this? And he tells me, and then I'm good. So it's been rewarding. It's been a very good. And when I do see other larger agents in our area switching over to EXP, I think, this is the place. This is where I should be.
Things have been good. I've been here since 2019. And so, for me, I remember that was a huge hang up for me as well when I first moved over. I'm the kind of guy that I've got a wife and kids and pets at home, and I'm not just going to work at home because there's too many distractions. So I need to like go to an office. So I'm in an office right here.
Yeah.
But like, you know, I initially just said, well, if I'm going to go to an office, I'm just going to, you know, lease a space or find a space that I can go and be focused and dedicated. And, you know, that's just what I did. And so, but it was, you got to figure that out a little bit, right? Because I think as a brokerage, EXP is cloud-based, but it's up to the agent to decide where do they want their office to be? Is it in your home? Is it in a co-working space? Do you own your own building? Do you lease a space? What is it for you? You know, I think that's what's kind of cool, actually. I was just at an event, the rally event, the EXP rally event, and there's actually in the state of Michigan, there's 26 EXP offices in the state.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But they're all, you know, owned or, you know, by agents or teams or whatever that have all these different offices. And so, you know, it was, you know, one of the guys got up there and spoke. He didn't even realize there was that many offices, you know? And it was like, we can have a footprint, but it's, you know, I think what's cool about EXP is they leave it up to the agent to decide, okay, you know, it's up to you to decide if you want an office or not, and how big and where and all that kind of stuff. But I think, you know, their financial model is, you know, worthwhile enough that there's incentives to help you make that decision. So that's an interesting hurdle though, but I have found, right, even logging into the digital platform and the EXP world, like, I think also once you get over that in your mind that like, you're just, you know, there's just an avatar that's just this digital thing and I don't understand it, but it's actually people. Yeah, you're there connecting with real human beings, real people in real time, and getting answers like you said, right away. I mean, I've been really impressed with the speed of response and just the insight that you get from a lot of things from it. So
they do. Our state brokers really do make you feel like I've had questions, you know, on a contract or something. And they have made me feel 100% backed up. Yeah. You know, like when they've said, nope, that's not a thing. You are perfectly entitled to have that done. And you did not step out of line. There was no impropriety, you know, anything like that. I have felt, you know, supported and backed up by my brokerage every time, which is, you know, huge. Yeah, that's super important. Yeah. You want to know that you're doing the right thing. I mean, you know, I've been in this 20 years and I go back to our broker every once in a while. Certain things come up, like I want to bounce ideas off of them. Hey, am I reading this right? What do you think? And it's nice to still get that, you know, conversation, dialogue back and forth, whatever it might be. So it's important. The other thing that I started doing recently that was, this is so dumb, but that has really helped my business in a way that I didn't really realize. I mean, I guess that's the dream that it would, but is that I started doing videos on TikTok and, you know, some Facebook and Instagram, although not much there, but on TikTok. And I just had one video hit 1.2 million views. What? And and they're so dumb. But I just think they're funny. And I just was not. What was the video? What was it about? I mean, oh my God, it's okay. This is so dumb, but and you can go look at it because I would love for everybody at EXP to follow me. But so like somebody's pushing me from behind, and I say, "Oh, you want to fight? I'll fight on your behalf." And I go with like, whether you're buying or selling, I'll be there. It's so dumb. It's so ridiculous. You'll have to go watch them if you're on TikTok or whatever, or Instagram. They're all on Instagram too. But the interactions I've gotten from people all over the place, you know, Kim, you've reached Australia. We love this and whatever is amazing. Just that kind of global interaction is just mind blowing. But then even more local, you know, somebody messaged me and said, I love this video. We're actually moving to the Madison area from Milwaukee. You know, could we have a conversation? Heck yeah, you know, and I was doing videos like that for a condo that I had for sale last October. And I said, I'm doing a video every day until this condo sells because the market just like stagnated as soon as I put that for sale sign in the yard for some reason. And I did a video every day. And my buyer, I ended up getting one client that saw it. He was in California. His son was moving here to work, graduating and moving. So I worked with him, helping his son find a condo. And then also the actual buyer for the condo came from out of state, saw my TikTok and saw like,
there you go.
Right. And I thought, see, it's okay to make a fool of yourself online. Who cares?
Hey, it's all good. You know, I've experienced a similar thing of just, you know, sometimes it's maybe making a phone call or just reaching out to somebody that you're uncomfortable about it, but you do it anyway. And then something happens, and then business just kind of happens because this is a contact sport, right? And you need to make contacts and connections with people, whether it's online, on video, on TikTok, on Instagram, YouTube, wherever it is, right? I mean, it's a contact sport, and we need to get the message out there and connect with more people. And so, you know, in whatever way, shape, and form agents can do that, I think they're much more likely to be successful. And so you've clearly demonstrated that. So nice job.
Yeah, it's been interesting.
Yeah,
it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure. Well, cool. Well, we've been chatting for quite a while here, and I don't want to take up too much of your day, but any last words of wisdom or insights, nuggets, anything still on your mind that you might want to share with our viewers before we sign off?
I think that I would just tell particularly new agents, but probably any agent, that some words that were said to me very early on. Well, 2 words of advice. One was, the minute you get greedy, everything will fall apart. So don't get greedy.
Okay.
Be grateful, and, you know, like 2% of whatever is still more than 0% of that. So like, don't get greedy. The second thing was, if you lose a listing or you lose a client or you don't get it or something falls through or whatever, just hang tight, tread water, because something is going to come back around.
Yeah.
Every time I've lost something, just right around the corner is a new listing. Somebody reaches out. Oh, hey, I heard you worked with my best friend's babysitter. Could you help me? Just stay the course. It will work out. Do the work. I mean, don't just sit there and twirl your thumbs, but don't get too discouraged, because right behind, and I mean right behind every loss is a win. There just is.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Love that mindset for sure. Yeah. Don't get greedy. I mean, there's no reason to. And I think, you know, what comes to mind too is something I heard a long time is like, right, if people smell that you're just like after the commission, like it stinks, and it's nobody, it doesn't feel good to anybody. So like, you know, something I always try to do too is like, just don't be attached to the outcome. Whatever the outcome is, you know, if this deal works, great. If it doesn't, great. Like it just, you know, things need to work out how they're supposed to work out, and not being attached to that outcome, I think, is definitely in line with don't get too greedy. And then,
definitely.
Yeah, for sure. Well, don't lose, and hang tight if you do. I've lost lots of listings and lots of buyers over the years, tons of them, and that is part of the process. And so part of it is you got to just keep going, and just keep going and keep working at it, and keep making those videos and those connections. And there is opportunity out there. You just got to uncover it and find it. So I love that.
Excellent.
Very cool. Well, Kim, I really appreciate you coming on our show on the Better Agent Podcast today. And
appreciate you having me.
Yeah, of course. I hope our listeners got some value out of our dialogue and discussion, and hopefully they can also become better agents themselves and help improve their real estate business by listening to our discussion today. So thanks again. Again, Kim DuBois, and I'm your host, Josh Lavik, signing off for another episode. Feel free to tune in again in the future if you enjoyed some of our dialogue. So hope everybody has a great day.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for tuning in to the Better Agent Podcast. I hope you found today's insights valuable. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review if you enjoyed the show. Stay tuned for more tips, Q&A sessions, and sneak peeks into our 21-day challenge. To get full access of our show notes and more details on the 21-day challenge, go to abetterrealestateexperience.com. Keep striving for greatness, and I'll see you on the next episode.